Good morning, soccer fans. It is a glorious day. It is kind of chilly in California. I'm not going to lie. It's been about 90 degrees the last few days, and I woke up to 60-degree weather this morning. But anyway, yeah, right? But good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Kickoff Show, powered by Duke Tig and Vio. We are excited to have you guys along the ride with us today as we get you ready for match day 4 of the UWS season. Joined by Kaylor, Katie, and Megan. Good morning, you three. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, same here. I'm drinking water this morning instead of coffee. Figured I'd switch it up. There you go, Megan. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, sometimes water is better than coffee.
You can have both.
Okay, all right. Best of both worlds.
I'm doing it for my coach right now. I'm drinking my water.
Okay.
First game for Unity FC tonight, taking on Winter Haven. Going to be streamed on 11, 7 o'clock. Make sure you're there. And I'm praying that the tropical storm does not come in and ruin that for all of us.
Oh, man.
It's a little bit of moisture. What's wrong with that?
Just play in the middle of it. Come on.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
Newsflash, Kaylor, you're probably younger than Megan, so she has a day or two on you.
Back in our day.
There you go.
I have many years on you, so you can't play that card. But anyway, we're excited. Lots going on, lots to discuss, lots to kind of dissect around the league. But just a quick little update on all of our standings. Corktown is leading Great Lakes Division, 10-goal differential. They're 3-0. A little bit of change there. FC Wichita, a surprise team up on top of the Heartland Division in the Central Conference. And then in the Midwest, Chicago Mustangs not playing until later. 18-goal differential, 2 wins, no losses, and no ties for 6 points. They are actually tied atop the table with St. Louis Scott Gallagher, who has 1 game more, but they have that loss. So that's just the Central Conference. We'll get into other conferences as we go. But looking back at match day 3, y'all, what kind of ideas and what did you guys take away from that?
For me, being a guy, in the Birmingham area, the biggest thing for me was seeing, a team who got thrashed week 1 step back up and, they went out and got a result. And I think that was a little bit of a trend that we saw that across the league, that teams that maybe, had it handed to them week 1, maybe they didn't go and get a result, but they looked more competitive. And we're starting to see, for the most part, everything regress a little bit more to the mean and more competitive matches.
Right.
I'm curious to know where Johnstone's alliance lies now, having 2 teams in Atlanta. The Atlanta Fire were announced last week, and they just got thrown right into the, fire, I guess, in that they get playing right away. And that's kind of a good thing, I think. They didn't have time to really think about what they needed to do tactically, and they just they had a team together. They were ready to go. They came out. I'm more impressed with the fact the Fire came out with a point, as opposed to FC Birmingham not winning that match. We discussed a couple weeks ago the idea of that first year, you kind of have that shell shock. But, Atlanta Fire came in against another introductory team, I guess is the way you could put it, a newbie, and held their own, it seemed, and kept going. Kaylor, were you able to kind of take in that match and see what was going on?
Yeah, so the big thing with the Fire that was really impressive, obviously new team, new players with each other, there was a big learning curve, right? They were still kind of learning each other, playing as individuals, but there were definitely some moments of team brilliance. The very end of the first half, there was a cross into the box, it was a header that ended up going in, but there were moments like that where it was more than just, some, ladies who are incredible. They're going to be stupid come the end of the season. They have the talent to do it. The thing is that early on, they may fall behind, the step because of just how the nature of the beast is of UWS. But the thing is that they definitely had their moments of brilliance. They had their moments of playing as a team. And if they can get to doing that, it's going to be a fun match to watch, specifically against the Panthers and the Fire, because I think the way that their styles match up, it's going to be an interesting matchup, to say the least.
Yeah, that game last week was very interesting. It kind of looked like FC Birmingham bounced back from that loss really well. They started the game strong, but it was Atlanta Fire who were able to find the back of the net first. They kind of grew into that game. And like you said, you could see they've got those strong players, but how do they come together and build that team chemistry? And you could see it grow as that first half went on, and they were able to score first, despite, in my opinion, FC Birmingham looking like the best team in that first 45 minutes. But really glad that FC Birmingham didn't let that one go. Like in that first game that they played, they were able to fight back, and they got a goal of their own in the 60th minute to get a point out of the game. And now that league's looking very, very competitive, and Pensacola are yet to play. And that's a powerhouse coming in. So I'm really excited to see how this conference goes.
Yeah, that free kick that that Birmingham scored, it was no looping free kick. I mean, you might be able to watch the replay and say, well, the keeper could have done something about it, but it's a 30-yard free kick, and it wasn't something that looped over the keeper's head. That was a laser. I mean, it was 30 yards on a rope. And
yeah, I think Putin was like, she's kind of off her line. Sorry, I think my internet went funny. Hooton, yeah, she recognized that the goalkeeper was kind of off her line and not the tallest, and she wasn't able to get a hand to it. And I think that was definitely a calculated decision. That was not, let me just kick this goalwards and see what happens.
Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. They meet again as a repeat of events Sunday. I'm more surprised. I think what we're going to continue to see, and Katie, you can chime in on this as well, but the idea of teams, getting their feet wet, right? Is it better to get your feet wet against a team who's also new, or is it good to go against the established seniority? Katie, what are your thoughts?
Me personally, if I were a coach, I would want to go against a newer team, mostly because I want to see how my team is playing. And the way that they're able to be cohesive or not, what's working strategy wise versus going into a team that's seasoned, who we already know has, a really solid record. That would be, I would prefer to go up against a team where we had a chance, versus a team we may not, so that's kind of like my opinion on that. I would rather go up against a team where I can see what we're doing wrong very clearly versus going in and just getting annihilated. Like, that's really hard. There's just so much that goes into those games where you're new in the league. You come in, you're losing like 4-5-0, and it's at what point is it just simple breakdown in structure or strategy, and then at what point is it just mental? And it's like, okay, we give up now, and so I would rather have a game where, okay, we can, revisit it at the half and see how we're doing and see what's working in practice or not. But again, it's so early, like a lot of especially with newer teams where they have a newer coach and everything, it's hard to really implement a lot of those things so early on. So whether they're going up against a newer team or an older team, that's why a lot of teams, they actually start showing up in the second half of the season. And like I had said earlier, it's really hard in the UWS because we don't have a lot of time. We only get a couple of games and very few shots, and you got to do what you can within a summer league. So,
how often, Katie and Megan, you guys are established, how often were you guys training as a team?
For us, it was anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week, just depending on the schedule and what we had coming up. But minimum like 3 times a week.
Yeah, for us in the UWS too, twice a week. And then we will be sending pictures as often as we train extra on our group chat. Our coach wants us to hold each other accountable. And a lot of our players will be doing that together, like 5 of us meeting up to do a session together or going to the gym together to get in a strength and conditioning type session. So even if it's not the whole team together multiple times a week, all the team will be together twice, and then encourage as much as you can to get together outside of the unity practices.
I love that, Megan. I wish we had done more of that last season. I think last season was more of like we were just practicing so much that it's almost like they didn't want to put anything else on us, because a lot of people don't realize we have full-time jobs and we have a life outside of soccer. This is a summer league that might help us, just find our place with our team, our community, and get some minutes in. Or for some people, it's a stepping stone to something else, right? So it's a very unique league in that it's not something you do year round. So we really do our best to make time for it in the summer, but we still have our life and our other obligations. So that gets in the way at times. And um, I think it's great to be able to give your players the flexibility to find that fitness on their own with their schedules versus making them come in, every day, like you might in college, right? Where you're training 3 times a week, you're lifting once or twice a week, and then you have a game. And it's also different in preseason versus in season, right? So, you know, it all just and that's I think where the newer teams struggle. It's like getting that really strong preseason in because they don't really know what to expect yet. So, yeah.
Kaylor, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, well, this was a question for, I guess, Megan and Katie, and I guess for you as well, because you're doing the coaching thing as well. How important is it to allow your players to do their own individual trainings anyway? Because the individual are going to know their needs better. Because as a coach, you really can only do something that works for the team, but maybe not the individual. Taking maybe one training session away a week and say, hey, do your individual thing. You know what you need to get better. How important is that? Or is that something that's even viable at this level?
Personally, I think that it depends on the degree to which the coach has those personal conversations with each player, how long they've been playing together so that they can identify what it is that they need to work on. I also think it comes down to having, a good strength coach or PT in the mix who can tell someone based on maybe where some of their weaknesses are. Maybe they have a weak core or a spine. Maybe certain muscles aren't firing correctly, or maybe it's just as simple as like, we need you to get stronger in your upper body so you can hold more people off of the ball, things like that. I think each player comes in with their own specific needs. So I do agree with that, to be able to give each player their own tailored workout, because I can't tell you how many times in college we'd have these group fitness trainings and I'm like, I can't keep up with this 6'2" strong Canadian who's like squatting me times 2, like I'm like, I don't think that's the move for me. But like everybody kind of has their own different, obviously I was on different weight, but stuff like that. I think the more tailored it can be, the better you're going to be personally as a player. And I think there's way more resources out there too that, players can Google or look at YouTube or reach out to people versus maybe in the past. So.
See, and I'll say this as it relates to that comment. I don't feel as though you should follow anybody else's regimen. And the reason is because everybody's different. You just spoke on it and said, hey, this player is this much stronger. That's great. I get that. But that doesn't mean you need to follow it. We see a lot of our youth nowadays who all want to be like Messi, all want to be like Ronaldo, want to be like Neymar. Okay, that's great. But there's only one you. And at the end of the day, it's about training to what you're capable of doing and growing from there. Can you eventually? Absolutely. I'm not saying you can't do the training, but get there. Work on yourself first. My son's 8, and it's like he wants to be able to do step overs and be flair. And it's like, no, man, just play the game. Have the IQ. And so, even when we're in the weight room, it's like, okay, buddy, you're not going to push this amount of weight. You're just going to do the bar. But I can do more than the bar. No, you're just going to stay simple. Don't overanalyze it. You're 8. And even the older kids, we have a hard time. For our team over at ARFC, we're training 1 day a week right now. And we've got games coming up here soon. Yeah, our league isn't, we're not fully developed. We've got 3 or 4 teams. But we also realize that, hey, we've got kids who are still taking college classes. Summer school's already started for a lot of these junior college athletes and college athletes. So a training on a Friday at 10 a.m. when you have a game on Sunday, it's okay. We can make this work. Is it ideal? No. I want to see him 3-4 times a week, but I can't right now. And I have to remember they're student athletes. You're a student first, and then you're an athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it really depends. Oh, sorry, Katie.
No, go ahead.
I think it really depends on those players on that squad. Like at Unity, we have players driving 2+ hours to get to practice. So is it viable for us to have 5 practices a week? No. There's other clubs that they'll house their players. And so they're all together in one area. And so to do 5 sessions a week, when you're bringing in players to a specific area and saying, you are my player for this summer league, that's when you're kind of expecting, okay, I'm expecting to train 5 times a week. I'm expecting to have different styles of session. But when it's players traveling from all over the place and just kind of taking into consideration, are people working full time? Are they in school? And how can we best develop a program to get the most out of the players? So in Unity's case, the at-home training is the perfect option. But for other teams, if you've got all of the players there, why not do those team sessions? You can break off. You can do this is defenders, this is strikers, this is midfielders, and then we'll come together for a game at the end. You can break it down in so many different ways. So it really, depends on resources, the players that you have, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and just speaking to the resources, kind of what I was getting at with the online stuff is, every team, what's really unique about this team is that there's different levels of investment from teams. So you might see teams with more media coverage or more social media coverage, whatever, and then others with zero, right? You might have just a single coach. You might have a coach, an assistant coach, a strength training coach. It's just all the teams vary. So depending on what team you're on, if you don't have all of those resources, what I was getting at is there's a lot of things on YouTube, or you can even reach out to your own personal trainer, right? If you really want to get better and take that next step. And weightlifting is so important for just safety in general. Weightlifting, stretching, all of that maintenance that goes on off the field is the probably most important thing you can do as a player, especially being young. I can't express it enough, especially as someone who has a lot of spinal injuries. I wish, I had a stronger core and then just was weightlifting more often like that and had the time to do a lot of those things. So I think if you're at a point where you can do that, just definitely be really diligent with it, and it'll show in your endurance, it'll show in your sturdiness, and when you go into a tackle, you're not going to be flimsy. There's so many benefits to weightlifting, and it can also alleviate pain in some cases. A lot of people think you need to stretch something out or ice it or heat it, but in some cases you actually need to strength train to alleviate pain. And so that's not something that I could tell you, and probably not even your coach could tell you. That's something you need from a PT or a strength coach. So it just depends on where you're at and what your goals are. But I think if you really want to take it to the next level in this league, you do have to be doing all of those things in tandem with, proper nutrition and sleep and all of that. That's kind of the level we're getting at here, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the things, and I'll provide this for people, one of the good things, there's an app, it's called ROMWOD, Range of Motion Workout of the Day. It's like $15 a month. It's all virtual. It goes through every day, gives you some form of a range of motion. It's about 20 minutes long. Thursdays, you do 45 minutes. So for those athletes who have that ability to use that resource, it's something to look into going forward, and that's called ROMWOD. But looking at the South Conference standings, everybody's played at least one game with the exception of Pensacola, so not everybody's played one game. But Atlanta sits on top of the table with 3 points and a 9-goal differential. They played Birmingham, who came out with that draw the other day, and now play again tomorrow. But let's go ahead and let's move out west with Katie. Katie, you had a match going through the schedule and the standings right now. Blue Heat is on top of the table with 6 points. Impact, who took a loss against Foothills, is at the bottom of that group with some things to discuss at a later show. But that conference is looking pretty stellar right now, and we'll keep seeing. But Katie, what match did you have your eyes on?
Yeah, so I brought it back to the May 27th match, Congo versus SC Blue Heat. And I know that's right on the cusp of week 2 and week 3, but I really had to give it some coverage because I was really proud of Congo's performance. I mean, it was only a 2-0 loss to SC Blue Heat, which is our former national champion. And to top it off, Congo had just played a back-to-back game. And in the game previous, they lost 4-0 to FC Arizona. So I think that says a lot just about, the West in general. I mean, it's such a great conference. And it's almost unfortunate that only one of those teams gets to make it out. I'm curious to know what would happen if 2 teams from every conference made it out, and to see what happens at the national title, right? That might be a better indicator of top teams in the league. I would love to see something like that. But SC Blue Heat's first goal, it was beautiful on so many levels. I mean, from the development of the play to just, first touches, one touch passes, a beautiful through ball right across the 18, and then perfect finish by Helena Sampaio. And so, um, it's that kind of footwork and development and soccer IQ that SC Heat brings that that you don't always see in a lot of other teams, right? Like you see, okay, you might be able to get a goal in, but how quality is that goal? How quality is the development? And SC Blue Heat just brings that time and time again. Now, the second goal that they had, that wasn't until, maybe beginning, middle of the second half. And that was just, a lot of dribbling. Giselle Thompson, she was able to kind of like just dribble through a couple people and sneak one past the keeper, as she does. She's little Speedy Gonzalez over there. But so yeah, that was great. But I was just again really proud of how Congo was able to hold them off. I mean, 1-0 at the half, Congo versus SC Blue Heat. That's pretty good. As a coach, I would be, proud of them considering they had just played a back-to-back game and who they were up against. And then, of course, honorable mention goes to Tegan Franson, who made 10 saves that game. 10. Like, come on, girl. You get it. Fantastic job. And even though it was a loss, I think it's one of those games we can agree, even by the team that lost, it was a good performance either way. And so, yeah, I had to give a little bit of coverage to that. So, yeah.
Could we say that the travel may have been a bit of a thing for Blue Heat? Looking at last weekend where they were home, they slept in their own bed. They got to play at their own stadium. They only had to drive, a little bit. But could that have played a role in only 2-0?
I mean, I feel that Blue Heat, they typically tend to fly to these games. So I don't think that their travel arrangements are that affecting compared to a lot of these other teams in the UWS. My thing with Blue Heat is I don't think that they ever go out with the intention of, let's get 10. I think that they are very much that team who are just like, let's just play. Like when they play against a good side, they'll come out on top because they're just playing. And then when they play against maybe a lower side, they're still just building on that quality and they're out there to just play and enjoy the game and to build up from the back and maybe try new things. So to me, the scoreline, I don't think any less of Blue Heat because they were only able to put 2 past Congo and Arizona put 4. I don't really take that into my consideration. I think that Blue Heat were just like 2 is what we need to get those 3 points. We're not going to take the piss. I'm sure that a lot of those players like Giselle numerous times could probably dribble through 5 players against a lot of different teams. And I'm sure she does it. But there's no need to be that individual player and just take on everybody and try and score yourself because that's not what's going to help those players develop in the future. She needs to be doing the right thing. And that's exactly what she's doing with Blue Heat, learning how to play in every single style against a variety of different players and being a team player.
Totally agree with that. And they did make a couple subs throughout the game, which is also indicative of let's just build our team and build our roster and give some of these players some time to really see what they do and make things happen. And I do love SC Blue Heat for that reason as well. They are a quality club in that regard. They're not going to just run a score up just because it's fun to do. And you could see that in the game. But really and truly, I felt like Congo still gave them a really good game. I mean, they were in every 50-50 challenge. They were giving their all in that game. It wasn't like all right, we're going to come out and lose this one. They came out to give a good fight. And so I do still want to give them some credit there for that. But no, all valid points, Megan, 100%.
I would love to see Congo play a game having rested legs and like fresh and mentally prepared because I know they go into FC Arizona with those fresh legs, but I feel like the fact that they're playing SC Blue Heat the next day, the national champions, an absolute powerhouse, has got to be in their brains whilst they're playing against FC Arizona, which is not how you need to be coming up against a team like when you're trying to win. So I really would love to see Congo play a game, just like focusing on one game in one weekend and like how competitive can they be? Because yeah, exactly, Katie. Let's not take it away from Congo that SC Blue Heat only scored 2. They should have scored more. No, Congo did the right thing. They played hard and they kept it down to 2.
Right.
Well, maybe it may be some time before we see Congo take the pitch again because of some travel concerns as it relates to Canadian play. Foothills put out a tweet yesterday regarding some status, and so we will. Once we get all the facts, we'll make sure we provide that as opposed to going off of a tweet. So we'll wait for the league to come back to us on that. Eastern Conference, Megan, you picked a game, but let's talk real quick. Lancaster Inferno back on top where they, I think, feel they should be. New England Mutiny, one of the teams that we talked a little bit about last year, but then they just kind of fell apart at the end. And obviously, Danny, his favorite FC Buffalo. We had Nick on a couple of weeks ago to talk a little bit about that. And they're on top of the Penn New York division with 7 points, a win and a draw. But Megan, you chose a game, oh, shocker, that had a lot of goals. Megan, go ahead and walk us through this one.
I know, it did have a lot of goals. Last Friday, the Pittsburgh Hotspurs were once again a part of a high-scoring affair where they just came up short and were unable to secure those 3 points. So the Hotspurs opened up their season with a thrilling high-scoring game against FC Berlin that finished 3-3. And this time they were playing Erie Commodores. And the game finished 4-3 to Erie Commodores. And boy, was it a great game. So Erie and the Hotspurs have both scored 6 goals in just 2 games. So I'm thinking Penn, New York. My eyes are there. You know I love goals. Goal of the week is like a highlight for me. And so my eyes are right over there. And this game really was a tale of 2 halves. So Erie went in at halftime with a 4-0 lead. Alexa Dix and Brooklyn Respecki combined to produce all 4 of the team's goals. Now, if that's not a dynamic duo to be watching for, I don't know what is. But some halftime talk that Hotspurs had, because in the second half, they came out and really turned things around. Ashley Rea was a standout performer in their squad. She tallied all 3 assists, and the goal scorers were Morgan Kost, Caitlin Kaufman, who is up there for Goal of the Week nominations if you haven't got your vote in already, and Sydney Patrick. But when you go down 4 at halftime, it is such an uphill battle in that second half. And although the Hotspurs came out ready to go, they were able to find the back of the net 3 times. It just was not enough. The comeback came up short, and Erie ended up taking that victory 4-3. So they now sit second in the Penn New York division. What a game, though. I loved it. I love seeing that tale of 2 halves kind of game. Was just epic.
I think this, like a 1-goal lead, 3-goal lead, 4-goal leads are hard to come back from. The reason is teams can make tactical changes. 2-goal leads, though, you get a little, okay, we got space. And at any age level, I've always seen a 2-goal lead fall apart. Whether you give up a goal or you concede early, and then you're on your heels. You're playing on the back line a lot, or you're playing in your back third through midfield. But having 4 and almost giving that up, I would have been more concerned about Erie losing that match, or even conceding away 2 points instead of pulling that one out. And then I would start to wonder, okay, is Erie, because we've already discussed their imbalance and how Erie's given up points, and Hotspur as well. I'm surprised that Pittsburgh didn't come out and take a point, or take 8 points out of that match.
I mean, Erie tied FC Buffalo, though. There's something to be said for Erie. I think that they're a solid side. They've obviously got capability of scoring those goals, but they are susceptible to concede, which is something that they're going to need to figure out. Because, yeah, if you're blowing a 4-goal lead and making it a 4-3 game, like taking it right down to those final minutes, it's some tense stuff. I mean, I can only imagine what was going through their coach's head as those goals kept coming in.
Yeah. I feel like it's so easy to like, when you're up that much that early, it kind of like it's like it kind of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit, so to speak. You, like Jonathan said, you start making tactical changes. You start kind of, loosening up a bit, and I guess that's not something you can really do against in the UWS. And I'm also wondering, if it was just an issue with the other side. Like, maybe they just didn't show up like they could have in the first half, and they did in the second half. I would like to know, like, what happened there. Was it really that they just kind of took a back seat and let things happen to them, or was it that they just showed up better in the second half?
I was watching this match after I turned it on at halftime, just because, I saw all the goals. I'm like, what's going on here? And then you start to see, and this is a team that they have players that have played together, but there's still a new squad together, if that makes sense. And you see this at all levels, from the lowest all the way to the highest, across, everything, basically, when it comes to footy. And you saw it after the first goal. It was like 3-goal lead, we're good. After the second goal, it's like, okay, 2-goal lead, the worst lead in sports. Got it.
Yeah.
And you started seeing it where, at least from what I could see, the back line, you could start to see that they almost didn't trust each other, but they almost started stepping over each other's lines, because it's like, we just conceded. I need to get to that ball. I need to be the difference maker. And they said, forget about space. I'm going to make that play, which eventually led to that third goal, which, if you're a player in that back line or a coach, you're probably thinking, oh God, oh Jesus, please, full-time whistle, call it 20 minutes early. I don't care, and
the whistles in the stands have already started.
And you're just sitting there, and you could definitely tell that this was a team that I think that Erie needed that kind of moment of, hey, you need to trust each other. We may have started conceding goals, but you need to trust each other, because these goals came because you overstepped somebody else's space. Respect the space, respect each other, and we'll continue to get these wins.
I think one of the things, even at the younger ages, you see is players, even at older ages, when I play indoor, as defenders who cross streams. They'll follow a guy across as opposed to communicating, hey, pick up and I'll take ball, or finding ways to branch off instead of taking over each other's space. But again, it's just about not crossing the stream. Ghostbusters said it best, right? You just got to make sure you don't cross the streams. And so when we play tactically, you have to think about where your spacing is and who's on the left and who's on the right, and how do you shift and rotate to make sure that you're providing them coverage if they do get beat. And then if you do get beat, you got to make sure you bust your tail to get back. I think that's the most important thing to think about. And we often forget about that, because we're so used to, okay, if I lose the ball, I have to be the captain here and I have to save the day. That's not the point anymore. Now it's more about, okay, I have a teammate who I can rely on, who can win that challenge. I can provide space or an opportunity to get out wide to move the ball. So we'll see. To the Southwest Conference. Katie, did you feel the voodoo doll last week?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I wish I could have made it to that game. I really do. So the Athenians and FC Austin Elite, but my sister had back surgery and she started having some complications. So I ended up staying in Houston instead of going in for the game. But I heard it was a good one.
It was a barn burner. Yeah. It was a barn burner.
Yeah, I mean, a tie, like, wow, that's great. But I will say that they were missing Enzi Broussard and Sarah Behe in the back. So I think FC Austin Elite still put up a really great performance. They got that late goal, which tied up the game, which was kind of a heartbreaker for the Athenians. But, for the most part, that's why you just can't stop playing, right? That's why you can't turn off. And a lot of these ties and upsets happen in the final 5 minutes, because that's when everyone's putting up, their best effort. And so it's not surprising to me that it was a tie game, but I would really like to see them go head to head when they have a full squad. Both teams have their full squad in place, and either way, they're both teams are top of the table this season, and I think you're just going to see that battle out until the very end.
So yeah, FC Austin Elite is on top of the table with 7 points, 2 wins and a draw. Athenians, who started off with a loss, then got a win, and now a draw. They're at 4 points, and then Luxuria, the Runners, and Wilco are all tied. Well, I shouldn't say tied. There's 2 tied at 3, Luxuria and Runners, and then Wilco with a -4 goal differential without the posting of last night's score. By the way, we're still waiting on that match to end up in the standings. But look, hey, We had talked about it. Katie had predicted a Austin Elite win in that match. 2 playoff sides playing against each other. The Athenians scored first. They got first blood in this match. Yeah. Brooke Martinez in the 49th found a way to Emma Ruiz to get a goal, easy goal, little just knock in, just a touch.
I mean, that's just a classic Athenians goal, I feel. Like, building it up, recognizing the space, like just moving the ball quickly with a purpose. I feel like when they score, I'm just like, yeah, that's an Athenians goal because they just have a way of doing it.
Scoring on sitters.
No, like recognizing
play development. Yeah,
recognizing the space, knowing where to go, making the runs. I mean, I love watching the Athenians because it's just beautiful football.
That was a little shot at Leland.
Good old Leland. Love that guy. So funny. No, Enzi actually, I think, kind of switches that up a bit for the Athenians because a lot of her goals are coming from top of 18 and bottom 90s, upper 90s, things like that. So I think having that combo is deadly. And so it might have been a different outcome had she been in that match. But, there's a lot of, like I said, it's the I-35 Derby. Like, I would almost say that there's a bigger rivalry between the Athenians and FC Austin Elite than the Athenians and the Runners, which is, going down tonight. So, and I think part of that is because it's a brand new team. We don't know what to expect yet. But for the most part, I don't know. I kind of think we're going to see this matchup happen again, and it's going to be very similar, even with the full squad. And that's just because there's blood in the mix, people are out for it.
That Austin goal came off a corner, and I'm wondering how many corners have teams scored off, because set pieces have been huge so far this season.
Right.
I don't know if we have a number, but I would love a number.
Right. That would be fantastic.
Where's our statistician when we need that? Who's the PR person? Yeah. Yeah. Slacking here, Megan.
I feel like we see a lot of these set piece goals early in the season, though, because you're still kind of figuring out how to defend them. Because I mean, different players come with different skill sets. I mean, different bodies just have different styles. You talked about earlier. Katie, you have 6'2" Canadian. You probably want her man marking, that they're 6'2" Canadian and not the other way around, right?
Right. And also, you're not going to go up for a header versus a 6'2" Canadian, right? You're gonna hope you scrabble for something on the ground if you're a 5'1" Katie versus a 6'2" Canadian, or hope to throw her off the ball while she's up in the air, So I think it's so hard to get anything out of the air because most center backs are tall, I don't know, but I don't think the Athenians right now have any super tall center backs, but we have good center backs, but I don't think they're super tall. So maybe that's where that came from. Maybe that's how we snuck that goal in.
Well, they almost closed it out. 86th minute though, from a corner, Katie Corpus scores the equalizing goal to steal a point. I guess you could say steal a point because they're running back to their bus and their cars to get back to Austin after that. And yeah, match ends up 1-1 draw. I hate draws. I'm not going to lie. I really despise a draw. If it's a good draw, I'll take it, but I hate draws. I can't do it. It.
Typical American.
Yeah.
No, I'm not asking for extra time or MLS shootout. No, I don't. I'll take points, but it's people fancy a no-hitter in baseball, or they fancy, a home run fest. I can't do it. A draw is a long game of chess that just didn't have a result. Nobody won. It was it became too late, and the guys who were playing at the park, the streetlights came on and they had to go home. I don't know. There's just something about a draw that I can deal with it, but I can't deal with it. It's just an emotional roller coaster for me, and I can't do it. Sorry. It's just how I am.
I think it depends. For me, it depends on the teams. If I'm really pulling for someone and it ends in a draw, then I get a little bit irritated.
Absolutely.
It just depends on the team and who's created the draw and versus who came from behind. And, it's all just situational for me on that one.
So recap, top of the tables, Western Conference Blue Heat, Southwest division, Austin out of the South Conference, and Atlanta on the southeast side of that conference. The Penn in the Eastern Conference, the Penn New York division, Buffalo leads that. New England division, the Mutiny of New England, and Lancaster Inferno in the Mid-Atlantic division. And then we go to the Central Conference, Corktown leading the Great Lakes division, Wichita in the lead at the Heartland division, and in the Midwest division is the Chicago Mustangs. So that's kind of where we are to date. Oh, look, Mike's awake. Draw in most cases is a win in my books. Boom. I can't agree with that. I can't. If you come out with look, we play today. I don't want to draw, Mike. We need a win. We need a win.
Depends on the nature of the draw. Like I said, like if it's your team coming back, if they're the underdog and they draw, okay, cool. Like, but if it's like you're a team that should be winning this game and it turns out to be a draw, that's frustrating, you know? So it's so situational for me. Like and also if it's good soccer, if it's, a lot of chances at goal, but maybe people just aren't putting them in, like, or if there's a lot of great play development, if there's just a great 50-50 challenges, that to me is a good game. And like, the score is whatever. But if I'm like constantly jumping up out of my seat, I think that's a good game. So
we might have a special guest alert. I'm just saying we may have a special guest alert.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, we'll see. The bubbles, the dot. It's going hard right now. So we'll see if that individual jumps on. But hey, let's move into this week's matches. I know the suspense is killing me, right? Will they show? So hey, let's get into today's matches. We got a lot going on in the league. I think everybody's up for a match today, which is nice. So everybody's going to get some feet in, and we'll figure it out. But Katie, what match has your attention today?
I got to go with the Athenians and the Runners because it's the first ever River Walk rivalry. Wow, that's a tongue twister for me. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. So no, it's going to be the Athenians and the SA Runners. And so, the Runners have like been doing pretty good. They like for it being their first season, like not too bad. And not only that, we have Allison Fahey on that team now, who was previously an Athenian. And so, of course, it's going to be a game that she's going to show up for. And that girl can run for days. That girl does not run out of gas. And she is strong. She is physical. She will upset people in no time, right? And then not only that, we also have Deanna, and she is somebody that I actually played rec with. And she's a really good center midi, really intelligent, great soccer IQ. And so as for the other players, I can't really speak to them because I don't really know them. I haven't seen them play or anything, but I know at least they have 2 really, really solid players. And like I said, they've put up a good fight. So I think it's gonna be a good game. If I had to choose, I think the Athenians might walk away with this one. But again, I don't really know. It's something that I'm just going to have to see how it plays out. I won't be able to make this game. Again, I have work tonight. I know. Ugh, damn obligations. But, yeah.
It's more important than soccer.
I know, right? What could be possibly?
For me, it's my kid's birthday. That's what's more important.
Oh,
I can't miss Jackson's birthday. He'll kill me. So can't make the trip to Davis today. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. Oh.
So thinking about that game, right? What is at stake for the Athenians? If for Megan, for Kaylor, is there anything at stake in this match as it relates to the Runners? I mean, it is a derby. It is a proper derby. San Antonio against San Antonio. Is there what's at stake besides bragging rights?
To me, the big thing at stake here is confidence, right? Because we just talked about it just a little bit. You had a little bit of the wind taken out of yourselves last week. And obviously you want to get the win. You want to do it for the fans. You want to do it for yourself because, there are people that you've been playing with for years, and you want to really stick it to them and have those bragging rights, obviously. But as a team, when it comes to, you said it earlier, this is a short season. Whoever wins this match sets themselves up pretty nicely at the top, right? Maybe not perfectly at the top, but at least put themselves in a position to strike. and you need it for your confidence, especially if you're the Athenians, where you feel like you need something out of this, especially all three. And on top of that, a little bit of boost to the goal differential as well.
Yeah, I think this game for the Runners is one that they can really make a statement in. If they were able to go into this game and take down the Athenians, who went to nationals last year, like they've been a huge presence on social media, like that does sound like a good time, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, same.
But yeah,
For me.
The Athenians are such an established club. They have such a reputation to all of fans of the UWS. They know the Athenians. They love the Athenians. And so if the Runners come in and take down the Athenians, I feel like everybody be like, okay, let's take the Runners
who do we
seriously.
support now?
Yeah, like let's take them seriously. Let's find out more about this team. So this could be a huge moment for the Runners in terms of the growth of their club. They could really get some eyes, get some fans if they were able to pull this one out of the bag.
Yeah, I also feel like the Athenians, they're working for that number 1 spot, right? I think FC Austin Elite has Luxoria coming up. Is that right? Is that right, Megan?
Yeah,
right. And
at home, their first home match of the year.
So I'm in the Athenians' minds, I can imagine they're hoping FC Austin Elite takes a loss, and they're hoping that they take a win against the Runners tonight and maybe can start slowly moving up into that number 1 spot. I think that's also something that they're playing for and trying to get at the moment. But you just can't take a team like the Runners lightly, though. So I don't know. It's something we'll just have to watch it and find out. Something that we'll be able to get back to you on next week. Yeah, but so what do you think, Megan, about, what we see coming up for FC Austin Elite and Luxoria? I'm really curious about that.
So that Southwest Conference has just got my attention. Like when I'm thinking what game am I probably going to be tuning into, it's going to be this FC Austin Elite versus Luxoria one. At Round Rock tonight, if you're able to go, Round Rock is an incredible facility. You've got 2 seriously good teams playing. Definitely try and get there if you can. And like we said, FC Austin Elite sitting atop this highly competitive Southwest division. They're the only team that is unbeaten in this division. They've got that 2-0-1 record. And then they're playing against Luxoria, who they actually kicked off their season against, and they only beat them by 2-1. And then they took down the newcomer, San Antonio Runners, 2-0, which I kind of feel like puts a little bit of pressure on the Athenians to do the same thing, as a side note. And then most recently, FC Austin Elite drew 1-1 with the Athenians. And then you've got Luxoria FC. They're sat in 3rd place in this division with a 1-1-0 record. They dropped their season opener to FC Austin Elite, but then bounced back and took down the San Antonio Athenians. So just to recap, and I wrote this down because it's a little bit complicated. So FC Austin Elite has beaten Luxoria, but tied with the Athenians. And Luxoria has lost to FC Austin Elite, but beaten the Athenians. So this is like such a huge game. Exactly. Like this, both these games that Katie and I are previewing are just huge because they're so intertwined. It's so competitive. And that's why our attention is on this Southwest Division, because it's going to be an epic battle in both of these games. Now, Luxoria, they've had a week off. They had a week to rest, to work on the training ground. And FC Austin Elite is coming into this game having had that tough game with the Athenians where they weren't able to find the win. They were actually losing for 85 minutes of that game. So that kind of mentality going into the game from each side is very different. You've got one who's had some time to take it just to the team. Let's just get on the training ground. Let's work. Our legs are a little bit more fresh. And then you've got Austin coming in, didn't quite perform how maybe they were anticipating and hoping to against the Athenians. So it's going to be really good. And my couple of key players to watch in this game are going to be Kenny Kessler of Luxoria, formerly with LSR. She's such a powerhouse. And then Katie Cooperis of FC Austin Elite, who's really been a standout player for them so far this season.
Well, in that division last night, the matchup between CTX Hornets, Central Texas Hornets, and Wilco ended up in a 4-0 win for Wilco, who starts to kind of make their climb back into the race of top 2. Okay. So Wilco is battling back after I won't say disappointing, but we're going to say disappointing start to the season, probably in their regards as we go forward. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. Kaylor, what match has your attention today?
For me, this one's going to be the Panthers versus Pensacola, right? This is going to be Pensacola. Is that not? Wait, yeah. That basically Pensacola is coming in. There's a lot of buzz around this Pensacola team from things that I've been hearing around Florida. I mean, wish I was in Florida, but I mean, there's some people down there that legitimately think that this is a national title contending team. There is talent. And hey, we saw, Atlanta go against FC Birmingham, which we saw recently has a bit more fight to them than a 9-0 thrashing, taking Katy back over to Starkville, bless their hearts. It's just, this is going to be... It's going to be a really good matchup. We're going to see just how dominant the Panthers are, and we're going to see if those expectations down in Florida are real.
Kaylor's giving us a predicament for a week out, so he's playing Nostradamus right now with the June 11th kickoff for Saturday, June 11th, Panthers, PFC. You're a week ahead, but I'm okay with it. I like it. I like the interest in that.
They play tonight. They play at 3, don't they? I'm pretty sure
I show that they play Saturday, June 11th.
I wrote it down as they play tonight as well. What's going on?
We might need. There's definitely some questions to be had here, but I have them down for tomorrow.
Yeah, because I see it too now. I think that might be a schedule change, a last-minute schedule change.
Well, speaking of last-minute schedule change, we have a special guest to come talk to us a little bit about that Southwest Conference. Leland Hammonds joins the show. Sir, how are you?
What's going on?
Listen, we had you on because we want to pick your brain and we want to find out what is going on in San Antonio today, my friend. The Athenians, you've got one of each, a win, a loss, and a draw. What's it been like to start the season for y'all?
It's been exciting. It's a matter of keeping everybody healthy, getting everybody to gel together as well with a new coaching staff and a new style of play. That's always interesting. We've got a blend of veterans. We've got the collegiate athletes that have came in, and we have our young athletes that are the late high schoolers that are jumping in, using our pathway and really pushing everybody. And I'll tell you, it's interesting. Squad selection. I'm on the edge of my seat to see who's on the 18. To see who's really who's gelled together and who's been able to really impress, and that's one of the cooler things about our team. So yeah, we're just kind of getting started. I think everybody is. I think I heard you guys mentioning Wilco. As they get their players together and as they start to really. I mean, I was walking through the tunnel as we were getting ready for that particular game, and I heard some still introducing each other, introducing their names and everything to one another and everything. So that's going to be a tough challenge at first when you're not exactly sure what the names are and the rest of the starters. And as they get to play together and work, they're going to be really good as well.
Before I give the other three an opportunity to ask you some questions, I do want to ask you one question as it relates to this new sub rule that's in UWS. How has that helped with some of these younger kids getting some time to play and get their feet wet?
I think it's been great for that, because you never know when with a 15-year-old who's just a stud, but who's never been in a situation like this. You don't know if their eyes are going to get really, really big, and if they're going to really be able to put it out there or not. But what's happened is actually it's been really good for player health. We've had some situations where we just really weren't sure. Could somebody go? Is this just a little soft? Is this just a little knock? Is this a soft tissue injury? What exactly is going on? And to be able to pull them off, have a full examination with the athletic trainer, to really be able to go through there and just not be under a real big time crunch, not to have to play with 10, those kind of things. And then to be able to look at it, it's been really good. So that's like a player first rule for me. And I think it's really smart, particularly with the Heat down here in San Antonio and in the Southwestern Conference and everything. I think putting the players first, even if it's a pain on the stat keeper, it's a pain on a lot of different situations and scenarios and everything. But I think putting them first is really important.
Yeah, I love that. I really, really love that because I can't tell you how many times as a player I have felt like a pawn in a game. And it's like, well, maybe your arm is hanging off, but you're going to have to keep running through it because we don't have
Yeah.
any subs left. So it's either,
Yeah.
like you let the team down or you play through your pain. And that just puts pressure on everybody. And it really doesn't need to be like that. So I also love that. But my question for you is, speaking of injuries, do you think we're going to see Enzi back in the picture and Sarah Behe?
Yeah, so it's going to be so Sarah will be in there tonight. Enzi, we've had a few different opinions, and obviously everyone's on different scenarios as well, right? There's a lot of different girls and a lot of different situations why people are playing with us, why they're excited to be in the league, and the ones with college eligibility left, right? We've got to keep those things in mind, right? They're going back to a really important season as well. The ones who don't have any more college eligibility, but they have pro prospects. Okay, well, they're going to be on a little bit of a different timeline as well. The ones who have a career and a family and relationships and everything, it's an interesting situation. So with Enzi, we're being a lot more careful when it comes to they were looking at it and saying, okay, well, I think this is an injury that at first we thought, okay, it's going to be a little bit painful. She's got a little knee knock right now. And they're saying, well, I don't think it's going to be a situation where it's going to get any worse. It's just more pain tolerance, pain threshold kind of thing. But as we looked at it, I wasn't really comfortable with it. And so we got a couple more opinions. And now that they've looked at it, they said, you know what, doing some rehab, working with a physical therapist, giving it a few weeks off, and seeing where we're at after about 3 to 4 weeks is a more important and probably a more sensible way to go. So that's the way we're going right now. No, things change, timelines change right away. Timelines change every time we get imagery, every time we see a physical therapist or the athletic trainer gets to work with her. It just so happens she's a super duper athlete with an insane pain tolerance and an insane pain threshold. And if you even saw her warm up or play, you would go, there isn't chance in the world that this girl is injured. She's the best athlete and the best player on the field by a mile, and it just looks like a gazelle flying through people. So, but again, you listen to the athlete. If you really are going to say it's an athlete first mentality and an athlete first philosophy, then you talk to it. And she's got some discomfort, and we've got she's got big aspirations, and so we're looking at beyond just the summer season. So obviously we'd love to have her tonight. We'd love to have her over the next couple of weeks, but honestly, we're looking at the long term. Her long-term career more than just these next couple of weeks. So yeah, Sarah will be playing tonight, but Enzi's going to be out. And then we've got a couple of game time decisions as well. So Ryan will be updating the Instagram and Twitter and letting everybody know. I'll be on pins and needles myself to see who can go tonight.
Very cool. I think that says a lot about, the organization in general. It's so easy when you're in a summer league and everybody's really competitive of making people believe that this is the end all be all, like I've even had in my own experience where just the way maybe a coach might handle certain situations, it becomes not great for the player anymore.
Right.
It's more about the organization than it is the player. And so I love that you guys understand the longevity of having athletes like that in your care. And so I do appreciate that. I think that's great.
Well, it's definitely a process and a protocol, and obviously everyone has a say, and the athlete has the highest say. But it is really neat to have our sports performance person, to have myself. I have some experience in this field, and to be able to go through there and just have a whole army of people that are saying, okay, let's take a look at it from all the different angles and put them first. But it is important. It's important to have the protocol, and then more important than the protocol is you got to stick with it, because it's really easy to say on a fun show on Saturday morning. It's really painful when she puts on the bib and helps me with the stats. That's when it hurts, because we want to see her out there as well.
I feel that.
Megan, Kaylor.
So my question. Oh, Kaylor, go ahead.
This was just going to be a little bit of a follow-up, and this is a question for you, but also for Megan and Katie. I was listening to an interview the other day, and they were talking about sometimes the difference between being hurt and being injured is just mentality, because everybody's quote unquote playing hurt. There's always going to be something that's sore. There's always going to be something that, hurts. Obviously, broken bones, torn, whatever, that's different. But everybody has a difference between, everybody's a little bit hurt. At what point do you look at a young player and say, I get that you have a high pain tolerance. I get that you can go out there and compete, but we need to make you stop. And for, Katie and Megan, as players, how hard is it for you to not fight back against that? It's like, no, I can play. I want to give everything for this team. I can do it.
Well, personally, the more I push through my injuries, the worse they get, unfortunately, because mine are just a little different. They're ruptured discs and spinal issues, and they're things that take time to build around and to fix and to recover from. So the more I keep pushing, the worse it gets. And it's one of those things we have to take a step back. In fact, you kind of have to take like 3 or 4 steps back and then maybe 1 step forward eventually, right? And of course, like that ship has sailed for me. I'm the old lady now, and I'm retired, and so I don't have to put my spine through that stuff anymore. But everybody's different, and yes, everybody has different pain tolerance, and everybody has different injuries. And I think what it comes down to is, as a player, reading how often am I getting injured? Where are these injuries stemming from? Is it lack of strength training? Is it maybe that I get a little knock and I'm being a wussy about it? It's a really fine line to walk, because really and truly you do have to learn how to play through pain quite a bit of time. But I think that's where your strength coach not your strength coach, but your PT comes in, really and truly, because they're the only ones. You may not even know what you're doing to your body. I mean, I remember I used to play on pain blockers. I used to have epidurals, and I'd go out and play a 90-minute game after an epidural because it's just blocking the pain. But what am I doing? I'm destroying my body in the process. Like, nobody should be doing any of that. And I think that's where having a proper PT comes into play, who can tell you whether you should or shouldn't be doing something, right? Because I think players, especially when they want to play and they want those starting minutes, I don't think you're going to see that as much in a summer league, but you're going to see that in a college team. You're going to see that on your NWSL teams, where people are just literally sacrificing everything in their body because they know that this is a limited chance that they have to prove themselves, and they don't want to lose their spot, right? So there's so much on the line, and I think these summer leagues, they are really competitive, and I think you can get into that little blinders on mindset really easily, especially depending on the coach and what they're feeding to you. It's either now or nothing. Right. It's now or never. So I think there's just so many things that go into play for this for me. I don't know, Megan, what do you think? Because you've also had, your own experiences too. And
yeah, I think the relationships between a coach and the players, and then the trainers and the players, is so crucial, because you need to know your player and recognize your players' kind of signs to when, no, this is serious. This time, you actually do need to take a step back. And when it is okay, you know what, we've got 2 games left of the season. I know that you're hurting a little bit, but we can push this one. We can make you good enough to play and make a difference and be the player that we need in those games. And then after that, that's when we'll take a step back and we'll focus on your recovery. And like you said, Katie, recognizing what is it that's causing these issues. Are you coming in every year and spraining your ankle? Yes. Well, let's find out why, and let's put a program in place that can go alongside practice. So maybe, last year, sprained ankle twice in a season. This year, this is your program. This is your ankle strengthening exercises that you will be doing alongside all of the team training and all of the strength and conditioning stuff we have for you, so that it doesn't happen. Communication, it's the most important part when it comes down to that. And having an environment where players feel comfortable to communicate. It sounds like the Athenians have a great environment where if somebody is hurt, they know that they're going to be taken serious. They know that their care is at the core of the club. And in other cases, there'll be clubs where you might feel, if I say I'm hurt, that I'm going to get cut from a roster. And that's the environment that needs to be taken out of soccer as a whole, because at the end of the day, people are people. They're not just robots there to produce a 90-minute game of soccer just for the fans or just for the coach.
I'm going to throw a softball pitch to you, Coach, right here. You go back a few years ago, Kevin Durant playing for the Golden State Warriors had an ankle injury and basically told the physios that he was perfectly fine. Next game, he goes out and ruptures his Achilles. So you kind of have to be careful with the communication and the trust you put into each other. But, Coach, I'll let you go ahead and finish that out here.
Oh, the ladies just absolutely smashed that question. And it's the relationship you build as well, right? If the girls just feel like they're a commodity and they're just a person that's, a means to an end and we're just trying to get wins and doing things like that, then their mentality is going to shift as well. But when they know that they can trust, and we have a sports performance specialist who, it doesn't matter all the other steps. If he has her in warm-ups and they start warming up and he doesn't like the way she's moving and he knows the way she moves and he doesn't like it, he gives a no. He calls the athletic trainer back over. They discuss some things and they talk too. So, the decision is in the athlete's hands to a certain extent, but we can also help particularly guide them in the safe route, not necessarily push them into going. And, another thing I'm finding is, and I was talking to ownership of this last week in our admin. I was like, listen, if you have female soccer players at this level, this elite level that have made it all the way there, they all have pre-existing injuries. Everyone has. Line them up and just look at every knee, and you're going to see a long scar, vertical scar, all the way through. Because they were asking me, well, with a few of the injuries, they're saying, well, was this person like injury prone, or is this something that we should have seen? And I was like, at this level, everyone has an old injury as well. And so you have to actually be managing the old injuries and still keeping an eye on that. And then also being on the lookout for the new ones. And the game's too physical. I'm still going to talk to I talked to all four of my crew about it and everything. This isn't demolition derby. This should be beautiful soccer. And we're out there to play beautiful soccer, but you're the ones that are out there to help us be able to do that. And if you're just allowing them to slam down, and that's where the injuries come from, and these concussions and a lot of the different things that we're seeing. And so, everyone has an area to play. And so when I see the four tonight as they get here for the big River Walk rivalry, man, Ryan making me say these alliterative things, making me sound dumb. I'm going to be talking to those refs and everything. I say, we're out here to play soccer and everything, treat it just like you were coming to see Neymar in Brazil, Messi in Argentina. And if you do, and you allow the girls to get out there and play that way, they're going to knock your socks off.
Coach is pulling out tongue twisters for me. I'm trying to say it in my head. I'm like, man. But also those long scars lead to quad scars. And so we got to make sure that we're as an athlete, it's always the secondary injury that causes the primary, is how I look at it. If you have a hamstring, or if you have a quad, it's your ACL or it's your meniscus. If you have a meniscus or ACL, it's your quad or hamstring. There's always a primary to create that secondary. Megan, last question, because I know Coach has a team selection meeting coming up that he's got to get ready for.
Okay, so my question for you is kind of reflecting upon that last game that you played against FC Austin Elite. Obviously leading for a long time in that game and then conceding in those final 5 minutes. What do you put that down to, and how have you worked on the training field to go into this game and prevent conceding in those last minutes of a game?
It's a great question. I come from a background that's not just soccer related, but it's just coaching in general. That's where my, I had a bunch of mentors. I got to coach a lot of different sports. And one of the things that a really, really good coach taught me one time was, to not be as results oriented, right? We had a few chances in goal. The Austin FC Elite keeper did an amazing job, 3 point blank saves in the second half. If any of those go in, we go up 2-0. It makes a really big difference, and probably the outcome of the game is different. But honestly, whether she made an unbelievable reaction, just kind of, guess one way and just be right there and make a great save. Let's say that ball goes in. Do we change the mindset of how we feel about that entire game going forward and everything? I mean, that's the whole idea. We played well. I think we had 17 shots. We really had a lot of the possession. I mean, the girls played a really great game. And at the end, man, hats off to Austin FC Elite. They wanted it. They went hard. It was funny. I have to knock on the doors and remind the coaches at halftime 5 minutes to come out. And it's two Brazilians, right? So my Brazilian coach, and I could hear him from about a mile away as I was walking towards the one. So I'm trying to knock on everything, trying to get a hold of them. Then I go over to the other side and I could hear her, and they were getting into it. And I was just like, give me a jersey. I will play for either one of these coaches. This is what soccer and football is all about. So it was, the environment and atmosphere was crazy. It was awesome. And then they made a play at the end, to equalize, and credit to them, hats off to them and everything. There are things that we can do better, and we need to be more clinical in front of goal. We're creating opportunities. We have a lot of possession. I mean, our holding mid, who I love so much, Emma Bates from Australia by way of Louisiana Lafayette. I mean, she's like at 95% passing accuracy right now. I think she was like 36 for 38. She's doing a lot of things, and we're creating. Now it's going to be having that cutting edge, being a little bit more ruthless in front of goal. But if you get too caught up in results oriented and just being results oriented, it's a very short season and you can't feel bad for yourself. And there's going to be, we didn't want to go 10-0 and slaughter everybody, because that's not a great conference and that's not a great competition. And yet every game's a Super Bowl. This is a Super Bowl tonight with SA runners. A lot of the girls that we're going to be competing against have played with lots of our players, or who possibly tried out with our team. And you want to talk about a chip on your shoulder and coming with some intensity. I don't think any of the girls on the runners teams that's coming to play us tonight at our place is coming to lose, right? They're coming to give us their best one and to show myself, the coaching staff and everything, what they missed out on by not having them on the Athenians roster. And so I expect unbelievably tough game. And that's the thing I respect so much about the UWS, about the Southwestern Conference and everything, is the depth of the talent of the coaches, just everything from top to bottom is so good that you have to go. But if you start feeling sorry for yourself because of one bounce or one call, it's going to make for a really long season. So we forget about it. The process is there. The girls really played well. I think we deserved a better fate perhaps, or whatever. And I think 1-1 might flatter them a tiny bit, but it doesn't flatter their effort and it doesn't flatter their intensity. They came and brought it the whole time. And hopefully the girls did learn, it's a 90+ minute game for sure.
Well, Coach, you're not going to go 11-0. You're at least going to have one loss and one
That's
draw.
right.
And
That's right.
you have some points to make up. You're 3 points back. You got Luxoria, Runners, and Wilco all on your heels. Actually, Wilco last night with their 4-0 win is just above you now. So you got a little bit of room to make up here, Coach. And we wish you the best of luck. We know you've got a team selection meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. We really appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to a positive result this evening.
Thanks for having me on. Keep up the good work. The summer of soccer 2022. Go with Indians.
Go with Indians and River Walk Derby. I'm taking out the rivalry. We're calling it Derby.
I'll let Ryan know.
It's the W that throws me off. I want to say Wivel Walk. Wivel Walk. I'm like, am I Daffy Duck? What is happening right now? Like
Porgy Pig or Daffy Duck, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure it out.
Why will we?
Coach, we'll get Tweety out to a match here pretty soon. We'll talk.
Yeah. Wait till you see our next one. See you later.
All right, later, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, a little sneak peek of what's going to happen at the River Walk Derby.
Rivalry.
No, we'll call it Derby. Hey, so listen, we've gotten a lot of takes. Megan, what was your match that you've got your interest on this evening?
Well, I mean, all of them. FC Austin Elite Luxoria and San Antonio Athenians versus the Runners. My eyes are on the Southwest. I have to say that it's the highly competitive conference. It may be the most competitive conference at this point. But if I want to see my goals, I'm definitely heading back up east.
All right.
Yeah.
Back up east. Well, I'm going to go east.
Up there. Yeah.
I'm going east, and I'm going with Copper Mine United and Paisley Athletic. I think this matchup has a lot of intrigue in that, look, Copper Mine's not a joke, and they have not slouched. They are second in the table. They've got 1 win, 3 points, a goal differential of 1. They've only played 1 match. This will be their second match against Paisley Athletic, who lost their opening match to Copper Mine United. So there's a lot of thought process here as it relates to this matchup. I think there's a couple. This could go either way. I really like what Paisley Athletic has started to do with their kind of growth of being a team and working directly with Gotham of the NWSL. However, I really like what's happening in Copper Mine. I think they've matured coming from UWS League 2, now playing into the UWS. Both view this as an opportunity to gain ground on Lancaster and kind of send a message to the rest of that Mid-Atlantic division, because look, you've got New Jersey Copa who's fallen twice, Lancaster who's got 2 wins. Keystone, who has yet to take the pitch, but they will start to get going here soon. There's a lot here. There's a lot in this conference. I think Coppermine comes out with a W today. Coppermine, Norris Field, Baltimore, Maryland, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. I don't know what time that is Central. I can't do math right now. It's still early here on the West Coast. But for the most part, I think that's going to be the match of intrigue. Any huge takeaways or thought processes of what we're going to see today? Match day 4 of the Summer of Soccer here in UWS.
I think match day 4 is now everybody's had time to feel it out. Most teams have played games now. There's a couple still left to play, but most teams have got a feeler for what this league is about, the quality of the sides. And so I think now we're really going to start, like this week onwards, I think we're really going to start seeing those teams find themselves, find their style, making their mark. So I think from now on, we're going to really see the true side of every team.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Also,
I mean, go ahead.
Golly. I was going to say to that same point, we've now reached that time of the season. No more excuses. You are who you are, and if you're going to get better, you need to get better right now because excuse season is done.
Oh.
Excuses are out the window. No more. Mic drop Kaylor. I like it.
Yes,
It's a good day there. Well, I will say this. We're not going to have 50 goals. I think this weekend we're not going to have any 4-3 matches. I think we're going to see 2-1, 2-0. Maybe we'll see a 3. I don't know. Let me see if that one team is playing. Okay, I lied. We're going to see one that's going to be a blowout, but that's okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. It does happen. It's soccer. There's always one team that's going to find a way to get it done. But hey, listen, we have gone way over our time. Thanks to Coach Leland for joining us this afternoon in some places, morning in others, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I just want to add one more thing before we close out. We have Cooktown Hawks versus Nationals FC tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I also think that is going to be a game to watch. We haven't really touched on them.
Oh.
I really think that is going to be a highly competitive game, and I'm very excited to see the outcome. I know that we're trying to leave, but just want to say that.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting development there. There's a couple other things that have shifted at Corktown as it relates to the club. I think they're on the right trajectory. I think there's a lot going on that's positive there, and we'll see what happens next. Katie, go ahead and sign us out.
Well, I just have one more thing before we leave, and I know we don't like to get political on this podcast, but I don't know if you noticed, both Megan and I are wearing orange today, and that is to bring awareness to a lot of the gun violence that's been happening recently. I'm sure you guys have heard about the shootings in Uvalde, and I'm in San Antonio, which is only an hour and a half away. There were 21 victims, 2 of those being teachers, the rest of those being elementary school children, and it has really hit the city. Is hit all of Texas very hard. I know there's a lot of political unrest surrounding that, but I think I just wanted to take this opportunity. I have the platform. I just want to say, let's all do our part in trying to make sure both parties come to a consensus, right? Because I think one thing we can all agree on is that some change needs to happen, right? And maybe it's not as extreme on both sides as we need it to be, but my one call out today is to say, where can you put in your part to make sure that these parties come to a general consensus? Because at the end of the day, we're better together, as we say in San Antonio, juntos en esto. That means in this together. So, that's my one call out today, and just want to give a shout out to that. And that's it. And that's all we got for today. So,
well, Katie, thank you so much for that. Special thanks to 11 Select, Duke Tig, VO, NL Tactical Boards, Impact Canopy, and obviously Fearless and Capable for everything they do for women in their space. So thank you to everybody. Enjoy match day 4 of the UWS Summer of Soccer. We'll talk to you guys. Perhaps Meg and I will get on a call this week and have something tied up for Tuesday or Thursday for a recap show. But until then, everyone, cheers and have a good match day 4. Adios.
Toodles.
I'm a part of UWS because of the opportunity it provides women.
Because it provided me the competition and exposure I needed to get to where I am today.
Because financial transparency is important to me.
Because at its core and within its leadership, it is truly dedicated to the promotion of the women's game.
Because of the competitive pathway it provides female players and coaches.
Because it expands the pathway of our club and offers more opportunities for players to develop.
Because I too support women in sports.
Because of the people. I love competing at a high level with some awesome teammates and getting to compete against people around the country.
Because it provides female athletes with a much needed platform to remain in the game in a professional setting.
Because it's the best summer league in the whole country. There's no question about it.
Because of the commitment to diversity for the players, coaches, and administrators of the UWS.
Because I like the opportunity to compete at such a high level and the advancement of the women's game.
I am a part of UWS because I believe in its vision and its leadership.